Hello and welcome to the Route 1 show. I'm Stephen Browne. Joining me is Jayson Booker. Oh, we've just got the music going again there.
Got the music going still. And again. It's going again.
And again. There we go. Right, I finally stopped.
Like Leeds United season, mate. How are you?
You know what? It's second time I've done that as well. I just can't get it. I think we're gonna have to stop the music, mate. Stop the music. Anyways, where were we? Yes, it's the Route 1 show here, and it's Leeds United versus Brighton review. I'm Stephen Browne, and joining me now is Jayson Booker. Jayson, how we doing, mate?
Not so bad, mate. Not so bad.
It's woken us up, that intro, hasn't it? It's woken us up now, hasn't it? That intro.
Yeah, I'm not so bad, mate. I'm not so bad. Yesterday was a tough one, but not too bad. Not too bad.
No. Yeah, so we are talking Leeds United 2, Brighton 2, and we've got so much as usual to get through with Leeds. I guess the starting point is actually not with the Leeds game, but the Bournemouth result that came in. Obviously, they kicked off at 12:30 yesterday, and Liverpool, who beat Manchester United 7-0 last week, conspired to lose 1-0 against Bournemouth, including missing a penalty. I don't know about you, but I just didn't fancy him for that penalty at all when it happened.
Could you?
Not their day. It wasn't Salah's day at all. I mean, when you saw the Bournemouth result, I mean, what are you thinking straight away when you see that?
I mean, it's almost like everything's just contrived to go against us, isn't it? So, sometimes that's how it feels. I mean, they say never back the early kickoff, so maybe we shouldn't have been surprised. But I said to you a couple of weeks ago about Bournemouth actually being one of the teams to fear down there, because they've shown this on occasion, haven't they? They started the season off all right, like they've gone back and forward in form, but they've shown that they'll keep on going, and they've got the potential to pull results out. I mean, I wouldn't have backed that in a million years, given what Liverpool were coming into the game off the back of. You'd have thought their tails would have been up. You'd have been more likely to predict a 3 or 4 hammering the other way. Terrible defending, won it again by Liverpool. You know, Trent threatened to throw one away earlier on in the game. I think it were Solanke through and put it through to Anthony, and he put it inside net, and I think it was. Anyway, irrelevant. It just feels that way, doesn't it? And then you look at the Everton game, and you'd have been expecting Brentford to get something out of that, and they score after a minute. Were it something like that? 2 minutes. It was within the first 2 minutes anyway. And David Raya's missing. Yeah, without a striker, David Raya's missing a sitter later on to equalise, and they have loads of chances as well. And I don't know. It's just Dyche is always going to pull results like that out of the bag, because that's what he's about. That's the way that he plays. And Goodison's a bit of a fortress, isn't it? It got him over the line last year. So desperately disappointing.
Yeah, but it's 3 wins in 7, I think, since Dyche has been there. 9 points. I mean, how invaluable is 9 points at this stage of the season? I mean, like I mentioned before, I was commenting on a Toffee TV video, which is I think it's like Everton's main fan channel, great channel. And I was saying, Leeds, we've got the attacking talent. We're going to score his way out of trouble. I think Everton are going to be really, in trouble because they've just got no strikers. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injured permanently. And then it's fast forward 2 weeks and they're on 25 points. What are they up to now? Are they up to, they've moved up a couple of places. They're at the relegation zone. Dyche doing his thing, and it set the tone a little bit for the day. That Bournemouth result in particular, it kind of just ramped up the pressure, because all of a sudden you're in that relegation zone at kickoff, and it's a different complexion on the game. Because beforehand, if you would have said to me, draw with Brighton, I'd gone, okay, that's fair enough, because Brighton are a very decent team, but it's not enough, is it? It's a good point.
Keep saying it, Brownie. That's the problem. We keep saying it. A point's not too bad, right? On to the next one. Next one's a must win. How many times have we said that? We keep saying it. So
it's got to come some point, hasn't it? We've got to actually win a game soon. And I'm sorry, but only beating Southampton 1 win in 13 is it's relegation form. There's just no other way of putting it. It is relegation form.
We are exactly where we deserve to be, given 100%. Form, performances, and results. Every team can look at a game and say, we deserve more out of that. But the facts are, is if you keep on saying that, the cold facts are is you don't. You're getting what you deserve because you keep doing the same things. You keep making the same mistakes. So, yeah, I mean, yesterday, and I know we're going to get into it in more detail, but yesterday was the exact example of how we can maybe get out of it, because individually yesterday we were horrendous. I thought. I think it's one of the worst performances of the season. Brighton should have been completely outside, and they are a good side. They are. But Gracia, in my opinion, got us over the line yesterday. If we'd have been under Jesse Marsh in that game, we'd have lost. We wouldn't have come out with anything. And it is very much points over performances. So on one hand, I see that side of it, and you know, happy that we've managed to escape that game with a point. But the fact that the performances of the individuals is an outlier for the rest of the season. We are going to have to individually play better than that to stand any chance of winning games between now and the end of the season.
And you know, we're going to break it down. We're going to, you know, go through bit by bit. But yeah, it's bizarre because I feel like we play with such the weight of the world on our shoulders. We never look relaxed. We just, you know, you look at Bournemouth against Liverpool and the way they were able to attack, the way they were able to go about the business. And, you know, it's like when we played Everton, you know, a few weeks ago, and they were really on it. And we just, you know, we see, you know, we've debated whether this team has actually got the talent, but it is just bizarre. I mean, it really is bizarre.
Browne. Yeah, experience is massive. I was watching the back end of the Everton game yesterday, and you know they have certainly a lot of grit and determination to try and go and stay in front, but they have a lot of experience throughout that team. Tarkowski, Coleman, as much as we laugh and scoff at a player like Seamus Coleman, bags of experience, even through the midfield, Decore, even players like Dwight McNeil. You know, they have bags of experience, especially in dealing with the relegation battle. They're not fazed by this. They've done it before. You know, Connor Cody, like it runs all the way through the team. So as much as we might have more talent, and I do think that we probably do have more individual talent in our squad than comparable to maybe even the likes of Southampton, Bournemouth, Everton, or maybe even Forest, it means nothing if you can't compose yourself enough to put it together. So, yeah, it's extremely, extremely disappointing and worrying.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. I do want to get into that more with you later because I've been seeing a few gripes about Gracia and the tactics a little bit, and you could hear it in the crowd at certain points when we weren't pressing like what the crowd is used to. But, I mean, it's like, well, duh. You know that you know, look where that's got us this season. You know, that's not worked for 2 seasons. You know, that's not been the thing. So
it wound me up somewhat chronic, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
when I heard the booing, I was like, like, what are you doing? You're making this more difficult for the players, which they're already low on confidence, susceptible. Anyway, I've said this before. I think there's some weak mentality in our squad. What are you doing? We've asked for this. We wanted Jesse Marsh gone. We wanted to stop the erratic play. And the facts are is it worked. What we were doing yesterday actually worked. If you watched the game, we picked the ball up, I don't know, 5-10 yards outside their box, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
The problem was we then did nothing with it because we didn't have the composure to then put it together. There were a couple of occasions where Tyler Adams literally picked the ball up 5 or 10 yards outside the box, and we should really be in on goal, but we can't put it together because we've not got that next bit. But the tactics, in my opinion, made perfect sense. We were forcing Jason Steele to play over the press into that midfield area, and then they were flicking it around the corner and trying to build off that. But if that flick didn't work, we won the ball back. And if they tried to play it out of the back, we won it really high up. The tactic was not the problem yesterday. The tactic, if anything, got us the result that we got. Because, like I said earlier, the individual performances I thought yesterday were... they were an absolute shocker.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's start then pre-match, the lineup. Any surprises, any shocks for you? Jack Harrison keeping his place was probably the most notable inclusion there. What did you make of it? Were you happy with that starting lineup, or did you think,
I mean, I've seen a lot of fan channels say about, you know, the favourites keeping the positions and stuff. And I've got to say, it concerns me a little bit. Obviously, we don't see them during training. And I'm sure that Jack Harrison looks $1 million when there's nobody there. I'm sure he does because he's got so much ability. It's in here with him. But I was disappointed to see him and Pat start. I didn't think Rutter deserved to be dropped, considering what he'd given us. Yeah, he's not scored, but what he'd given us in them 2 games, I thought he'd probably start. But Pat did look more free-flowing. He didn't look like he was carrying as much stiffness. So, we'll get onto the individuals, I'm sure, but I thought he did really well in the goal. While it took a deflection, I thought, that's what you want to see from a striker. So, after the first half, I wasn't surprised to see him starting. But yeah, I was disappointed to see Jack start. I was surprised that Weston weren't in there as well. But I can understand it. I don't think he's been amazing. I don't think he's done enough to say, this is my spot here. Sinisterra, Rodrigo back on the bench. They clearly weren't fit to play 60 minutes. They were probably fit to play 30. So is it a surprise to see them on the bench again? Starting on the bench, probably not. So yeah, overall, Harrison and Bamford probably I was a bit surprised to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it kicked off on Harrison, I think he lost the ball twice in 2 minutes, and I was ready to just put my fists through the wall. At that point, I was just like, this is just crazy. Because straight away, give the ball so cheaply, and you're thinking that how has he got his place still? Interesting with Bamford as well. I thought, especially after his goal, I felt like he was playing with confidence. Then he was laying the ball off. He was using his body. The touch was there. That first touch was there for him, which we've not seen in a while. It just seemed to give him a massive boost. So that was nice to see. That was promising to see, because I don't think Rodrigo's going to come back in and set the world on fire immediately. I think he's had a break in his ankle. I just don't. Takes time. He's not going to come. And you could see he was not sharp at all when he came back.
No, there were a moment in second
chance.
Yeah, he took like 2 touches and stumbled it out of play. It's like, but that's what happens when you've not done something fluently or like every day for the past 2 months. That's what happens. So this is why we can't be resting, putting all of his expectations on Rodrigo between now and end of the season. But coming to the specific of the goal, Pat's goal, I thought it was a great goal. I know it takes a deflection, but the first touch to open his body and take it onto his right foot, and then to even just throw a swinger at it. Like, sometimes that's what you need to do. Like, right now, we are not creating them gilt-edged chances inside the 6-yard box. We need a little bit of something to go for us. And sometimes you just have to throw a foot at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it was kind of like a bolt out of the blue as well, because we were really starting to tank was the atmosphere and the feeling around the game at that point, because Brighton were passing it around as the crowds all lay in. It was really starting to feel that pressure. And it was almost like Pat from 2 years ago in the Premier League, where he's whacking them in from every angle going, and it was great to see. And it was on his weaker foot. And I felt like that gave him such a boost going forward there. Got some comments coming in. Andrew, thank you very much for your comment. Hi, lads. Great listening to the show. I agree. We need everyone involved with Leeds now to get right behind the team. Points before performance for me. Stay up, then go again. Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. I totally agree. I think Bielsa ball is gone. Marsh ball is gone. Whatever that was, the high pressing thing. And I think this intensity thing that we've built up over time, I think all that now it's gone. I think it's gone now. I think Gracia's rebuilding the DNA of the team, almost saying, look, we've got to be smart, we've got to be patient, and that's how we've got to move forward, basically. And it is a valuable point. It is a valuable point. Mark Rocker, I know that because I bobbed you a message on Twitter sometime, I think in the second half, and I was like, I think Rocker's had an absolute shock. And you said you didn't think he'd been too bad. I just thought Adams was worse.
Yeah,
I think what I was reacting to was I thought he had a very shaky kind of first half, Rocker, a couple of times when he gave the ball away. And I don't ever see him dominating that midfield. I never see him dominating the midfield. And I don't know if it's just the combination isn't quite right. But yeah, I thought Adams didn't have his best game either. Again, I'm not sure about him in a Gracia team.
It's hard, Browne. It's hard. When you're a progressive passer, you are going to look silly and you're going to look poor if the players around you are taking bad first touches, not making good runs. Because what ends up happening is you end up forcing the situation and you end up trying to force it in positions that the pass actually isn't on. And I see a lot of that with Rocker. Like, don't get me wrong, he makes mistakes and he gets some wrong. Of course he does. But for me, it's everything that's in and around that at the moment. The lack of creativity, especially centrally in that midfield, is so alarming. We have no number 10. Like, Aronson, he offers us something, and I'm not picking on him. I thought he was okay yesterday. But them moments where, when Pablo, and I'm not, you can't compare him to Pablo, but he's the most like that we've had that in the past 5 or 6 years. He picks it up in tight spots and finds that killer pass. Rocker is the player before the assist. Yeah. And he's not got anybody to feed. Down the wings, Jack's always to feet, really. He's never in behind. Somerville, I didn't think he had a great game yesterday. I don't think, again, it's not one individual's fault that the performance was so bad yesterday. But how often did he stretch the fullback? Rarely. So, but again, you don't know how much of that is instruction. It very much felt to me that yesterday we were set up 4-4-2. Aronson was practically alongside Pat for most of the first half. So, yeah.
Do you think Gracia's looking at Aronson as hopefully becoming that playmaker or that link, that kind of, the guy who gets the assist? Do you think he's looking at Aronson and think there is? Because when it's funny, when I look at Aronson, I think physically looks like your kind of classic number 10, quite slight, quite diminutive, can turn both ways, he's quick. Has he got that football intelligence? No, he's not that kind of Pablo kind of player. No. But can you see Gracia continue with him rather than say put, two up front, Rodrigo and Bamford? Or
it's a funny one, isn't it? He's a bit of an enigma, is Aronson, because I can understand how he's ended up playing so much on the wing. Because I think his end product struggles, but when you're sometimes lumping it into the box or crossing it into the box, it's a bit different than trying to find that intricate pass from the 10 position. So, but I think he's got loads of attributes that could be transferred into playing more in that player in behind the number 10 role, but he just never seems to pick the ball up in and around that area and then deliver that pass in behind the lines for a striker. But again, how much is that because we've not had a striker running in behind him? So it's a real tough one. It's a real tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting as well what you say about kind of Gracia's tactics moving forward and the fact that he's setting us up in a really positive way in terms of how we're dealing with the other teams and what he's trying to build tactically. But then let's move on to the individual kind of performances that you mentioned before. Who concerned you yesterday? Who were those individual performances that you just thought were not on the ball at all?
I mean, I can't think of many that had a good game yesterday. That's how I felt about yesterday. And the fact that we came out with a point is beyond belief. I thought Ayling was horrific. Like, and some of it was to do with how good Matoma was. That's fair. He's a very, very good player. He's banging form. At times, he's probably got the ability to make any fullback look bad. Yeah. But yesterday, Ayling just constantly kept on getting caught underneath the ball. He's not got the pace anyway. We know that. So why are you so far progressed? There were a time in the first half, I can't remember exactly what concluded of it, but I remember thinking Matoma were running in from the left-hand channel. I think it was just after we scored. It was running in the left-hand channel. I'm thinking, where's Ayling? Like, Tyler Adams had come across to cover, eventually got there to kind of shepherd Matoma inside. I think it might have been the chance where McAllister put it wide and he should have scored.
Yeah.
At the end of the first half. And I'm like, where's Ayling? And literally, McAllister struck the ball, it's gone out of play, and Ayling just comes into shot. And I'm thinking, how? How is that possible? Like, even if you are, we didn't get countered as such, really. We'd lost the ball and he was just out of position. No, I don't get it. So sorry, just there we go. So yeah, I thought Ayling had an absolute stinker going forward and defensively. He was
just on Ayling as well, because I saw kind of a couple of people seeming to indicate that, it was. I really don't like it when another player gets the blame. See, the thing is with Somerville, is I feel that Somerville gets unnecessary stick when a lot of the time recently he's been one of our most proactive forward players. And it seems that some players just get that stick from the fans, like, straight away. And people say, well, it's Somerville's fault for Ayling's performance. But what? It's like, if you're Ayling, go back or just come on. Just step back.
I see both sides of it, Brownie. Like, for me, that is a selection error, because Somerville is not going to get back and defend. He's not that type of player. He's not. No. Jack Harrison does do that on the other side. So Somerville's not going to do that. So if you're going to start him, understand the fact that that side of the pitch is going to need a midfielder to come across. It's going to need Ayling to be more defensively, preset in the thought process of going forward. Whatever it takes to then incorporate that. Or you don't start Somerville and you start somebody more defensively minded on that side. It's as simple as that for me. So, I mean, Gracia has had a lot of defence from me, but maybe that is, Matoma's going to be starting on that side. We know they're a threat on that wing. We know that Luke Ayling's not great defensively. Maybe something else has to happen on that side. Maybe Christensen would have been the better option because Christensen didn't go forward. He's a slightly better defensively than he is going forward. I don't know if he's better than defensively than Ayling. I'm not saying Christensen's the option, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, you put something else there that incorporates that. So I agree with you that you can't look at Somerville and be like, well, Ayling's losing his one-on-one battle against Matoma and it's because Somerville isn't helping. It doesn't work like that.
No.
So...
No. That's what I mean. I think it's just. I think some players do get let off the hookies. And listen, don't get me wrong. I love Luke Ayling.
Yeah,
absolutely love Luke Ayling. And I think it's difficult because he is that kind of attacking fullback, isn't he? We know the defensive deficiencies he's got.
Sorry to interrupt you. What about, so people blaming Somerville for Ayling's performance? What about Matoma out jumping him at the back post to put it on a plate for McAllister? Like that's a head. Luke Ayling's 6 foot. Matoma's 5'9", and he's getting out jumped. Like, that's got nothing to do with Somerville. It's a simple clearance header. That Somerville hasn't put Robin Koch out of position on the 6-yard box to stop McAllister heading that in after Ayling's made the mistake. Like, sorry to interrupt you, but it's we banged on and on and on about Jesse Marsh being the issue, but the facts are is as well there is individual performance problems, and they still exist.
Yeah, I mean there was a point in the first half where I think every time we got the ball, we were passing it straight back to Brighton in our third of the pitch. Verba did it. Koch did it. Yeah. I think Firpo lost the ball cheaply. Ayling lost Rocker. And, you're just thinking, I mean, why? I just don't understand. What is going on? Because this has got to be a confidence issue or something. Or is it this lack of experience? Because, when you make that point and you actually go through, I mean, if you look at that team yesterday, Jason, I mean, you've literally got Luke Ayling as the only senior player. I think he's the only one.
Bamford,
Bamford as well. And then those two are the only senior ones there who were above, say, age 26, 27. The rest are 26 and under. And then, I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it? And you're going into a relegation battle and you think, is this why everything is nervous and this is why everything's edgy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have certain individuals that you bring in, don't you, that you would want around you in a scrap. And, Everton are a good example of having players like that you would want. I am not saying for a second that Conor Cody is a better centre-back than Koch or Verba. Same for Tarkowski, they're not. But they have got experience and they understand how to play in pressure. Seamus Coleman, he's another one. Like, it runs through that team. Even players like Doucouré and Idrissa Gueye, like, they've got big game experience. They're not worried about getting relegated. They're not. They will be worried about getting relegated. But what I'm saying is that the pressure of that will not be impacting on their performances. If they go down because their ability is less, not because of the pressure. The pressure can do funny things to people, especially on a football pitch in front of thousands of people. So, and we're seeing that. And I mean, we've said about behind closed doors games and this team, the first season in the Premier League, some of the performances that you saw from players like Jack Harrison, he's just able to show his true ability because he's got no pressure. There's no stress and pressure on him. He might as well be playing a reserve game so he can just go and express himself. And that runs through our kind of DNA, I think, over this last couple of seasons. We've seen more and more and more of it. And that's what you're experiencing. And these experienced pros, you know, while I don't want to see Berardi playing, I don't really want to see Alioski playing, Hernandez, they're not going to be able to play massive parts, 90 minutes, time after again. But they offer something in that moment of pressure and stress that these players just have not experienced yet. Well, look at Tyler Adams as an experienced pro. He's 23.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, this is it. And the midfield, I mean, Rocker's, 25 or 26?
25,
and Weston McKennie's 25. It's not greatly experienced, especially from their background. I mean, they're not used to this dogfight at the bottom of the Premier League, are they? Was it a big mistake selling Click?
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it was. I mean, I said to you, I remember saying I wouldn't want it to see Click playing every 90 minutes. We do need to move on from the old guard. But right now, certainly under a Gracia side, I think it'd have got some serious minutes, mate. I do. You know, that experience would have helped, but also the position that he played, because he did have that ability to be that link in between the midfield and then the strikers. He could play as a 10 or an advanced 8. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly looking that way, especially when we didn't replace him. I know that we got Weston McKennie, but the Weston McKennie and Mateusz Klich are nothing alike. They're not even similar, in my opinion.
No, exactly. Andrew, thank you very much for your comment, mate. Brighton are a very good side, so for me, a point is a good one. Yeah, I mean, you know, look, if you'd have said 24 hours before a point, I'd have said, yeah, absolutely 2-2 against Brighton. I think my concern is, and I think, Jason, you put a tweet out about this, is the level of performance and what that says about where we are as a side. Even now that we're getting set up in a way that can cope with this a little bit better, I think, and we're not being torn to shreds like we were. Yeah, I think there's still issues with the individual performance, and I mean, yesterday Brighton should have been out of sight, shouldn't they? They really should have been.
Defensively, we were miles better yesterday than we were under Jesse Marsh, and we still should have lost that game 5 or 6-2 yesterday.
Yeah,
we got away with that yesterday because of some poor finishing. McAllister's in the first half. We're 2-0, 2-1, then going into half time. It's a different game. Danny Welbeck should score. We're at 2-1. They made it 3-1. Yeah.
Well, what would it, by the way, though, what can I just say with that? How did he do defense with body movement, predicting it? As I was watching, I was like, no, you've fallen for it.
It was horrendous. It was horrendous.
The keeper. I'm just like,
I don't know what Verbal was doing. He dived in. Cox just watching it. They stood together. Like, yeah, no, it was horrendous. We were lucky to get away with that one. And they weren't just that. There were other moments as well where we probably should have conceded. I can't remember who it was. In first half, had a big chance and just scuffed it wide.
No, McAllister had a few, didn't he? McAllister had a few where he's like going through and he's like, you just thought on another day.
I think they took it for granted yesterday, mate. Brighton. I thought they were playing in second gear.
Yeah.
You know,
I think so.
If they'd have turned it up yesterday, I honestly believe they could have. That's why De Zerbi was so frustrated. He seemed losing his mind outside the pitch. Like, stats can tell you a lot of things. We had some chances of his own. We actually had more shots on target than them, but that does not tell the reflection of the game. Not at all. You have to watch the game properly to be able to say what it means. And a point yesterday is great. It is, because Brighton are a very, very good side, but it's about what it says for the rest of the season. If we play anything like that against our next 11 opponents, I think it's 11 games that we've got left now, we are gonna lose nearly every single week.
Yeah,
because individually it's going to cost us.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right about the stats. I mean, I looked at the stats again. And I was like, huh? And we had more shots on target then. We only had 2 shots left. But then when you dig into it, we had an XG of, I think, 0.6. And we scored 2 goals. Brighton had 1.6. And just with your eyes when you're watching it, it's just like it was child's play at time. And I think 2 stunning goals, isn't it, really, that's kind of bailed us out. One of the goal scorers then, sunny on the day, Jack Harrison, in terms of his performance overall, what do you make of it? Where do you stand with it? Because obviously he's got the goal, a terrific goal, fantastic strike, and I think everybody was like, "Whoa!"
He's got it in his locker. He's
only
got
goes
it in
500 yards over. Well, he has.
know.
No, he has. And fair play. I mean, can that give him a boost? Can this be something? Go, yes, Jackie, you have got it in you. Come on.
I didn't think he had a terrible first half yesterday. He we were throughout the whole team, the performances were low. If I had to have picked out a performer of some kind in that first half, I'd have said Harrison and Bamford were probably the two of the better. Not that they were good, but he wasn't the worst yesterday. I didn't think he pressed well. He had a couple of moments where, he found something of an end product. He obviously got the assist. He got the ball out of his feet quickly and played it straight into Bamford. Like, he had an okay first half. But second half, man, he was frustrating the hell out of me. Giving the ball away, running into blind alleys. What is he doing for the own goal? Like, you are 2 yards away from your goal line. Why are you trying to kick the ball with your left foot? Even if Solly March gets there first, and I know people are saying, this ain't Jack Harrison's fault, Solly March gets there first anyway, blah, 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 whatever. Why are you aiming your left foot at that ball? It makes zero sense. Right foot into the stands that way, not towards the goal that way. It just makes no sense. So, yeah, that was so frustrating. And then, the goal, the both sides of Jack Harrison, innit? Hot and cold on one day. Like, it's unbelievable because the finish was brilliant. It was a brilliant finish.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All for a short corner now after that, definitely. Please, if you're giving us a watch, do put a like on the video and get other people watching as well. Please get a comment in as well. Let us know what you thought about yesterday's game and Jack Harrison and everything else to do with it. Jason, sorry, you were going to make a point then, mate.
There were a couple of crosses that he whipped in as well, which were fantastic. There were the one that came to the back post at Ayling, and Ayling should have done better, put it over the bar. There were another one where he whipped it right in across the 6-yard box and nobody got there. I think Dunk might have headed it away. So he showed a little bit more of an end product yesterday. But it's just so infrequent. Jack Harrison, we talk about this experience. Jack Harrison should be our main man, really. He should be the player that's carrying us through this. He's 26. He's not a kid. He's had loads of experience in this lead side. He knows how to deal with the pressures and stresses of Ellen Road and all the rest of it, and he still has 4 or 5 games in between a good moment.
It's just not enough, is it? It's just not enough, and it's so disappointing as well because I think with Jack Harrison as well, you saw that progression from when he had that first year loan and he was so hit and miss, and then but there was that progression, and that first year in the Premier League, some of the goals that he scored and the general play were fantastic. He still blew hot and cold, but there was a lot of good moments, whereas I think, you look at last season, this season, you're going, where are the good moments? Where's the productivity? Moving on to the substitutions then, Jason, the guys who got onto the pitch in the second half, we saw the return of Rodrigo, kind of mentioned earlier, the fact that he looked a bit rusty, had a great opportunity, and the ball kind of got away from him. I guess at least having him fit again back in that team, do you think he's actually going to make a positive impact going forward, or do you think it's going to be a case of there's just not enough games to get him back into it? How do you see it, moving forward with Rodrigo?
I think if we stay up, he'll have a massive part to play in it. I think, not to say that the season hinges on him, but we talk about experience. He's got bags of experience. Spanish international. He's 32-year-old now. Yeah. He loves the role of being captain. If Ayling's not playing, he would be my captain for the rest of the season. He'd probably be my captain anyway, but I think it's a strong move to say, right, Luke, you're not vice captain anymore at this stage. And I understand not wanting to rock the ball too much. I think he thrives off that. And he clearly has the technical ability to put the ball in the back of the net that's going to see us get the goals that we need to stay up. So it could well be make or break on how much he can offer us for the rest of the season. I picture the fact that it'll take him a couple of weeks. We've got an international break coming up, so hopefully that will help after the Wolves game. So yeah, he's going to be massive. He's going to be vital, absolutely vital.
What about Nonto? Because I thought he came on and I thought he was terrific.
I think he needs to start next game. Who you now drop? Because can he drop Harrison after a goal and an assist? And it sounds like he likes him. Do you then play him over Somerville, but play Nonto on the right, where he's probably not as effective as he is on the left? Do you play Jack there, but Jack's not as comfortable there? I don't know. It's a tough one. But I can't imagine him being left out of the starting lineup for too much longer. I understood the reason for him being brought out, though. A lot of fans have been getting real tender about it. But it made sense. He was getting doubled up on. He's not quite got the know-how and the experience to be able to handle that, and he will becoming ineffective in games. We're having one maybe moment in a game where he would find a bit of space and get a shot off, and that were it. You wouldn't see him for the rest of the half. And especially like when we had Rafinha, the ball just gets funneled to him all the time. So every time we go forward, Nonto's got it, and either Nonto does something or Nonto loses it, and then we're back on the defence again. It's almost bad for the team when you're doing that. So, yeah, I can understand it, but I would imagine we'd see him back in, probably over Somerville. I think that's probably what will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the one I was most disappointed in was Weston McKennie. I thought he was dreadful when he came on. What did you make of him, Jason?
I mean, he came on and went into an area of the pitch which we were already horrendously dreadful in anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to kind of pick up the pace of the game. And he made one good turn and pass through to Rodrigo. I think that's when Rodrigo had that dodgy touch and put it out of play. I think that was the moment. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. Gave the ball away way too much. Didn't look after the ball at all. Kind of got caught with the ball going past him a lot as well. I noticed that weren't getting involved, weren't getting in and around the areas that he needed to be. But like I say, it was tough because he was coming onto a game yesterday where we were completely second best in that area of the pitch. I mean, talk about experience, and then we talk about somebody like Moises Caicedo. What a player he is. Yeah. I did some work on Brighton's under-23s. I might have mentioned it before, and I've seen Evan Ferguson and Moises Caicedo loads. I've watched them play before they came to the scene in the Premier League. Evan Ferguson, a 16-year-old body in centre-backs, the guy is unreal. And Caicedo's been doing this for years. He's some player, and he just controlled the whole of that midfield yesterday. He dominated the whole game. And I noticed that Tyler Adams were on him all the time. They were literally man-marking him the whole game, and it didn't matter. If he wanted to turn away from Adams, he bought a free kick and won a foul and then Brighton could rebuild another 20, 30 yards further forward. He just totally controlled the game.
Why not start the three then, Rocker, McKennie and Adams, and try and get some real control of that midfield, or just that extra help rather than the two and it getting run through? Is it the fact that if you don't have that kind of pivot further up the field, you're not really going to create much attacking wise? But I know, for me, it just seems like, why not get the control? Or is it the fact that at Fulham it didn't quite work when you threw it?
I don't think it's that. I think it's specific for the games. I think Gracia saw yesterday as we want as many effective presses of the ball further up the pitch. We're going to leave them with the ball. We know they're going to try and play through us. And the second that ball plays, we're going to try and react to that. We saw it loads. And like I said, it did work. I had no problem with Brighton having more of the ball in the areas that they had it in. That wasn't what cost us yesterday. We actually won the ball, I would say probably 4 or 5 times in really dangerous positions based on the tactic. It's what we then did with it when we won it back that was the problem. And what we did defensively further back that cost us so often. Individual errors that a tactic, yesterday had nothing to do with.
No, absolutely. No, it's going forward. Then looking at it, and the league table is not good reading, Jason, after yesterday's result. And this is where you look at it and go, it's a good point in isolation, but the context of the league, I mean, it's 1 win in 13 now for Leeds in the Premier League. 1 win in 13. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. We're bottom of the form table for the last 10 games. Yes, I know a lot of fans are jumping on the Crystal Palace and Leicester are sinking like stones, which is great, but we're still in that bottom 3 on the form.
We're thinking more than them. And we're below them. So,
what have we done? What are we doing? What signs are we showing?
Browne, 3 teams go down. So It doesn't matter whether Palace and Leicester are sinking because there's still another spot, even if them 2 go down. So Absolutely. It's just a stupid mindset.
I'm not going into that. I'm not looking at Palace
and
Leicester going, oh, well, it's fine because they're doing terrible. It's nothing to do with them. You know what Leicester are like. You know what probably Palace, they can get a result. They've got good players. They can, they can turn it around. Whether they will or not, I don't know. But even if them 2 go down. Like you say, there's 3 go down. It's still not enough.
Leicester had bags of chances yesterday against Chelsea. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw the
they
game.
did. And they did against the other week, didn't they, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that concerns me the most under Gracia. I don't understand at the moment what we are trying to do in attack. I don't see the idea.
What do you think the plan is?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
What do
it
you think the
looks
plan
very
is in
much.
attack generally?
I honestly don't know. It feels to me like they are individually just trying to make something happen. That's what it feels like when we go forward.
Yeah.
Like it's not sequence of passes or plays that is creating chances. It's brilliant moments or an individual cross or Nonto doing something or Somerville beating a play. It doesn't feel like there's a structural plan to score a goal. That's the only thing that I will say under Gracia so far. Every moment that we've created in front of goal, even the good moments against Fulham and things like that, it doesn't feel like it was born through a style of play. I see what's happening when we're out of the ball and defensively. I can understand it. The way that we press and defend it. I see all that. When we go the other way, I don't really see it. I see Firpo overlapping sometimes, but I would do that. As not a particularly skilled manager, I'd be saying, right, okay, we want the fullbacks to overlap. It's not that complicated, really. So, yeah, that is my one concern. I mean, I said weeks ago, I thought we'd go down. I'm still going to stick to that. There's been nothing to say that I think that'll, like I said, three sides go down. Southampton have started picking up results. West Ham are not going to go down, in my opinion. They're too good. They're going to find enough points to stay up. With David Moyes, with the experience they've got, I'd be shocked. Dyche, and then you start running out of teams to stay. I think Palace are right in it. I've said for weeks and weeks, I think Vieira's a myth and Palace will be in and around it. I think Forest will be really in and around it, and I think Southampton will be really in and around it. And then us, I see it between them 4 teams.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I'll bring up the table here just briefly. I mean, if God, how have we got into this situation this season? It's just absolutely
that table is mental, though, isn't it? When you look at that, it is mental. When you look from Palace in 12th to us in 19th, Southampton obviously play today. Fingers crossed, praying that they lose today. But even if let's say they don't, we'll be bottom of the league on 23 points, and 12th in the league will be on 27 points. 4 points separating the bottom 8. It's crazy how tight that is.
Yeah, it's just bonkers, isn't it? And I think, how do you feel where this is going then? I mean, you've mentioned before that you think we're probably relegated at this point. And I've got to say, after the Chelsea game last week, I just thought typical Leeds can't take advantage against the team that are out of form and pretty much a disaster. And there always seems to be this excuse for why we're not winning games. I've got to say, is it getting to a point now where we're looking at it going, there is a really strong possibility that we're going to get relegated now? And it's almost like coming to terms with it a little bit, going, I'm going to have to get... Now I know what Huddersfield Town fans and Bradford Park Avenue fans and everyone have been thinking most of the season. Now we're in their camp now, where it's just, it's looking, pretty dire.
Look at the trends, Brownie. Yeah. We're saying that Palace are dropping like a stone. We're lost to them at Selhurst Park. We're saying that Leicester are dropping. We're lost to them. We're saying that Forest are dropping. We're lost to them. How long does that go on for? The only kind of sway to that was Southampton, and they were dire. We were dire. Yeah. Gracia's first game at home, and we got over the line.
Yeah, and a scuffed goal.
Yeah, it's not enough to keep us up. So where are the points coming from? Unless something real big changes, we're going to be one of them 3. This ain't just one spot. If we were just saying, just one spot, I could maybe see us finishing 19th, maybe even 18th, but I just don't see us finishing in front of 3 of them teams that are down there with us. I just don't.
No,
it's not the league negative.
No, the league table does not lie. We absolutely deserve to be in 19th. Absolutely. When you watch us and how kind of fragile we are, and the fact that we're, in the final third were appalling. Generally, I mean, yesterday, it almost feels like an anomaly. The fact that we scored these two fantastic strikes, and hopefully that says to them, look, we need more of that going forward. We need more of that going forward. I mean, if you're talking about, where are the wins coming from? We play Wolves away next. Where is any evidence to say we're going to beat Wolves away from home? We've won one game away from home all season against Liverpool, which was a crazy game in itself, and on another day might not have happened, but that is appalling. I mean, I've heard fans now saying, well, Wolves, we've got to go. Where's the evidence to say we're going to do anything against Wolves?
If I hear must win one more time, honestly, I just hear it all the time. Twitter, other content creators, the Wolves is now a must win. Well, if we don't win, we're going to say that about the next game because we're not going to be out of touch. It's just going to be the next. Like the facts is that we have walked past and come away with either nothing or a point from so many must wins, and the facts is they were. Because they would have potentially been the catalyst to start picking up more points than we have. We've gone past it. For me, we are past the point because of the games that we've got left. I know we've got an all right April, but as May is horrific, playing teams that are still going to be involved in battles for top four and relegation as well. Like, who thinks that we're just going to go West Ham away when they're down there as well? Because it's not just us against them. Like, they're going to be in a battle to finish in front of another two teams other than Leeds. What's to say that we're going to go to West Ham away and be able to win that game? Like, for me, given our fragility, given our lack of experience, we have missed the opportunities to put the points on the board. And that's why for me, we're down. It doesn't make me happy to say it. I hate it. Like, I'm absolutely dreading the thought of playing championship football again. But we have to look at what's in front of us, and it's as clear as that for me. Like, Wolves away next. I'd love to say that we can win that game, but I think they've got better players than us. I think they've got better experience than us. I think they've got a better manager than us, and they're at home. Like, why am I going to say that we're going to win that game?
No, I think my only, it's not anything I'm expecting by a long stretch. I could only think if we start getting some individual performances or something that somebody goes on a hot streak. That's what we need. We need Bamford to, maybe he can go on a hot streak or something. Someone can get this thing going or do something. I mean, it'll just, for me, if we go down and it carries on and maybe we only win another couple games or whatever, I mean, what an absolute nightmare it's been this last couple of years. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, my head has even gone forward now, thinking what happens in the summer if we go down, because you're looking at when you're in that relegation zone, it changes the perception. It's not a nice place to be. I mean, even last week you could at least say we're not in the relegation zone. We had a game in hand on Everton. Of course, we messed that up. Of course we did. But going forward, I mean, it really does just demolish all that good work over the last, 4 years, really, doesn't it? If we go down now, because it's starting again,
Absolutely.
And how many players do you lose? What happens to the takeover?
You go back into the cycle, don't you? Then of the players that have not been able to deal with the pressures of Ellen Road and Leeds United in the Championship, because it takes a certain individual, and the facts are is them individuals are then playing Premier League football. Yeah. So you're back on that cycle again. I'd hate to think of the summer. I can't even. We'll deal with that when we get there. That's how I feel about the potential for relegation. Some would stay, but the majority, we would lose between 10 and 15 players. God, maybe we can do a special on that at some point for the summer. I don't even want to think about it, Brownie. It makes me feel a bit sick.
It's going to be the longest post-mortem ever as a summer if we go down.
I mean, the board, and what the positions would look like for Orta, Kinnear and Rads, they would have to move on. They would have to. Yeah. There is going to be some serious backlash. I think there'll be backlash anyway. Even if we manage to scrape through this, I can't see Orta making it out. The summer, still with the club. Just coming back to your point there about individuals, that's exactly what I say about Rodrigo. I think our season hinges on him being the catalyst for some creativity in goals. Maybe Sinisterra as well. I do think he's got that ability. It's just he's injury prone, and I don't know. That's why he was worth the money that was worth, and Antony was worth 80 million maybe, because Sinisterra's stats were actually better. But he has an injury record, and clearly he's got that's what brings his value down. So it maybe is that we're looking at them too, especially Rodrigo, to bring us that experience and the goals to keep us up. I think that is our.
Just so desperate, isn't it? It's just
it should be
so
that
desperate. It really is. And I think the hope was when Gracia came in was, yes, there's going to be these changes defensively. We're going to look more solid. But I guess I was hoping that you would see more confidence in the players, or like you mentioned, it's hard to see what that attacking plan is at the moment. And Crandall B, thank you for your comment, mate. No manager is going to help professionals make 5 to 10 yard passes in a Premier League game. Most are not Premier League players in this team. And yeah, I think that's one thing. I look back now and I think, have I overrated this squad this year?
It's a great point,
because I thought our squad is good, especially after the January transfer window. I thought, what, actually we're decent. We're a decent squad. We're much better than Everton. We're much better than Southampton. We're much better. But then, you're watching these performances week after week after week after week, and mentality is a big part of it. If they, and like Crandall says here, 5, 10 yard passes. Simple things, simple things.
It's the combination of them all together as well, because you're not telling me that a player like Weston McKennie, who's played 100 times for Juventus, couldn't probably form part of as a squad player at Liverpool, as an example. But he's in and around other players that compensate for his either lack of mentality, lack of ability, whatever. Like these players will be able to play Premier League football. Tyler Adams, Verber, Robin Koch. There's a reason that Newcastle have been linked with Robin Koch. He's got some serious attributes, but when you put them together, and this is where Victor Orta's culpability comes into it, you have to have the correct blend. That's the reason that players like Jordan Henderson still play so many games for Liverpool, because he brings a mentality aspect to it. His quality's not as good as some of the other players that are available for Liverpool. It's just an example. You get my point. Is that he brings something to that squad and that environment. We don't have that. We don't have the gel putting it all together. So yeah, I think it's a good point. While I think most are probably Premier League players, it's the mold and the gel of that team together doesn't work. I'd be tempted. I know Firpo's been okay this last few weeks, but I'd be tempted to put Verber to left back and bring Liam Cooper back when he's fit. I'm not saying that Liam Cooper's the saviour, but again, he just gives us that little bit of experience and the mentality, to pull us through these difficult moments when we've got us backs to the walls. So I don't know. I'm so desperate for anything to kind of hold on to. I mean, Andrew said there about 5 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, we've only got 5 wins all season, 27 games. We're going to get 5 wins in 11 games.
Who are we going to be? It's really looking at it now. I mean, I'm looking at Bournemouth away and thinking, Christ, that's going to be tough.
Tough game.
None of it's easy, is it? I appreciate Andrew your positivity though, mate. We got to believe in some section, haven't we? But it's just, I mean, you make a great point about Orta as well, and the squad building, because I remember Phil here writing extensively about kind of the average age of players in the squad, and Leeds had a real lack of that 26 to 32 age group, or might have been 26 to 30 age group. I think there was only Phillips kind of, that was coming up at that point. And the squad building, you've got to look at it and really question it, haven't you? Especially the fact that obviously we backed Jesse Marsch to the hilt. We got all these players in to suit that style, and it didn't work. It was largely dreadful. You look at it, and you look at Brighton yesterday, you look at that squad and the players and how it all works, and the fact that they changed manager and it's improved. Yeah. I mean, we're just miles away, aren't we? And this is our 3rd year in the Premier League. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to be like this. We had that horrible second year. And then once that was done, we got past second season syndrome, and now it was supposed to be the point where we pushed on, and we spent. Yes, we lost a couple of our key players, the key players for the previous term, but you thought with the investment, things have to change. You have to accept you're going to lose players, but if you reinvest, you can improve. And this season has just knocked us for 10.
Victor Orta just cares so much about all the signings being fashionable. That's the biggest.
That's what it is.
I think so. He's such an egotistical maniac. Like he he is, isn't he? Like he loves his name up in lights. Look at who I've brought you, And sometimes you have to go and find the unfashionable to fit into the squad. I know we hate talking about them on this channel, but look at some of the players that they've signed across the pond. The likes of Casemiro, Eriksen, Sabitzer. And I'm not saying that we should have gone and signed them players. My point is that Casemiro, as an example, would not have been the first choice signing for a lot, but he brings a certain glue to what they're trying to create there. Eriksen, and that's what we need. Everton, I wouldn't want Everton squad so much, but players like Conor Cody are smart purchases, smart signings. And you have to bring them in and amongst some of these players like Willie Gnonto, like Sinistera, like Jorginho Rutter.
Well, I'm not saying it would have happened, but I always thought we should have gone in for Jimmy Milner. Back in the Premier League,
Absolutely.
I thought what we should have done is really laid it out and said, look, you're going to be captain, you're going to be the icon here, you're going to be
the coach progression.
Yeah, you're going to be the role model. It's going to be, But to bring someone like you say, a Henderson type, someone who can come in, who can say, right, this is how we do it. This is, I've been here, I've got the T-shirt, and instead it's kind of, we've brought in these players, like you say, is it fashionable? Is it cool? It strikes me as Orta's got way too much power now. And the fact that Radrizzani has just listened to him time and time and time again, and we'd probably still have Marsh if it were, if it was down to Orta, for goodness sake.
This is, fans are just as bad though, and this is why I went mad about people scoffing at Shea Adams. I'm not saying that Shea Adams is the answer. Please, I'm not. But if you would have offered me Shea Adams at 10 to 15 million quid or Jorginho Rutter at 35 million, I'm taking Shea Adams every single day for the rest of this season. To try and offer us, something in the way of an experienced Premier League head that's unfashionable, that can do a job for us, but we want to do this, jazzy kind of sign. And I'm not hating on Jorginho. I'm not.
But it's like Charles de Ketelaere, isn't it? He's absolutely bombed at AC Milan. Yeah. And it's like he would have been another that we were ready to move the earth for to get over, and would probably have struggled. Judging by what's happened for him for AC Milan.
That signing makes a lot more sense in the summer before we've played any games, because his potential is very high. So I understand. But you're right. You're absolutely right. It always has to be this jazzy kind of... Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's okay to go and sign, an experienced Premier League pro. That's why... And I'm not... Again, I'm thinking names off the top of my head here, but over the years, teams that have been in and around that area of the table where we apparently, it's inconceivable we could have gone down and all the rest of it, the teams that kind of push them 12th, 11th, 10th, have players or sign players like Joel Ward at Crystal Palace, Stuart Armstrong at Southampton, Jeff Hendrick at Newcastle. And I'm not saying that I would want any of them players. I'm just using them as examples of players that make up parts of squads to bring something other than just talent. And that's what we're missing loads of.
It's like even Brighton, you look at Welbeck and Lallana and kind of...
Pascal Gross. Pascal Gross, 30-year-old. And and I know he's been there a few years now, but if we'd have... Say, for example, we'd have gone out and spent 12 million on Pascal Gross and given him a 5-year deal to take him to him being 35, fans would have gone ballistic. They'd have gone absolutely nuts. Yeah, he'd have been perfect. You know what I mean? So, but
it's like Crandall B says here, great point. We did not bring in any Premier League proven players, anyone in 3 years, and I think that's a great point. I think I've heard it mentioned about Orta as well. and I think this was a great point I heard on another fan channel. I can't remember who made it actually. My apologies, but they were saying Victor Orta is a great talent. It seems from what we've seen is great at spotting young talent. You know, you look at your non-toes, you look at the way they got Strauch, but anything kind of outside of that, where it has to come in and make an impact, it seems to be really, really difficult and a struggle. I mean, it's like the obsession for Dan James, and where's that got us? Where's that got us now?
That's a great point. I've literally just been sat here for like 15, 20 seconds now, just trying to think of a single Premier League player that we've signed with Premier League experience. And I'm not buying into that has to be the every signing you make, but it has to be some of it. It has to be some of your recruitment strategy to bring in players that have got the experience to help the players that have not got the experience. You don't need experience to succeed in the Premier League. Look at Rafinha. No. Look at some of the other players that we're definitely, you don't need that, but you definitely need to build around some. And we haven't got any. You're absolutely right. Joel Robles. Like Robles, that's it.
God. Another thing that I've been thinking as well, I think, if we survive, if we stay up, I mean, what's going to happen with that squad? What would need to happen with that squad? I mean, it feels almost like you've got a mini rebuild that it would need to go on, because unless there's a dramatic improvement in individual performances, how many of these players are good enough to thrive and improve us in the Premier League?
I think you're talking a massive rebuild, Browne. I really do. I think Pat would need to leave. I think, I'm looking right the way through the team. I mean, there's moves all over the place. I think you'd even need to look at maybe moving on some of the youngsters, and taking an opportunity for some big fees to come in to help rebuild the squad. Christensen would need to go. You'd keep the likes of Luke and Liam for experience on the bench, but they have to be bench players. We can't still be relying on Luke Ayling at right back after 3 years in the Premier League. The question marks over Meslier. There's still question marks on left back, Jack Harrison. Like, you're talking all over the place, over the pitch.
Rodrigo's 32 now. I think probably Brendan Aronson gets another season to prove himself, but he's got to improve. And you're looking at that, and if we do stay up, takeover happens. I mean, it is going to feel like a new club almost, because they're probably going to rip up what we've got in terms of recruitment at the moment. That'll probably be the end of Orta. You would have thought, he's going to be phased out certainly, and we need a proper recruitment strategy. I know they have all these computers, and they do all the data and analysis. I know all that, but it's one man driving it. Whereas I think we need a different setup now, clearly, for the squad building, because I don't actually know what they're trying to build with the squad. I mean, you're probably talking 2 more central midfielders. I think you've got to get more in midfield, more options, more experience, and it's going to cost a damn fortune. They're going to have to buy the club, and they're going to have to invest 150 million in.
Without doubt.
Because where's this squad going to go next season? Same thing again.
With scouting, Browne, scouting itself is one thing. The selection of whether that player is then right to make your team better is another. Like, it's really, really simple to watch footage of a player, analyze their strengths and weaknesses, and say, good player, not good player. Whether they're a good player or not doesn't mean that they will fit into what you're trying to build. And too much of that has been done incorrectly for us. And that's where Orta is culpable. Yeah, I agree completely. He's a great spotter of young talent, but that's not that difficult. Willie Gnonto was playing first team international football for Italy. Yeah, that's not overly complicated. No, I mean, the shock with him is that nobody else came and picked him up first. That's the big shock with Willie Gnonto, and I think it's the route that he decided to take, because he left Italy, didn't he? Went over to Switzerland. I don't know his background and the reason for that, but he wasn't an unknown. Rafinha, people to him, that wasn't again, he's not an unknown. He'd been doing it in Portugal, then he'd been doing it in France. Teams knew about him. We were just prepared to take the risk, and we sold Rads and Victor are both very good salespeople, I believe that, and they sold a project and a vision to Rafinha, which probably included, you'll get your move to Barcelona. I reckon that was probably spoken about in the contract negotiations right back 2 years ago. And I still believe that Rafinha would have signed a new deal and stayed with us had we have shown the ambition to push on from the 9th place finish. But we didn't.
Took the words out of me. You took the words right out of my mouth, because I remember there being talk about it. Even when the start season got off to a bad start.
I remember.
There was still talk about him and Phillips signing new deals, and that whole thing starting to get going. And then, like you say, we showed zero ambition that second season in the transfer market, and we're paying the price. Just to finish up then, Jason, just going back to yesterday's game, it's a point against a very good team. We're in the relegation zone now. It's really tight going up to 12th place. What are your final thoughts about kind of the weekend and where Leeds are at going forward?
I mean, the performance is not going to make me feel better. It made me feel worse about the rest of the season, truthfully. As much as the point in isolation was good, I think we have to show that we are capable of taking 3 points away from somebody that's not Southampton at home. And we have to do it as soon as possible to have any chance of pulling this round. And it has to start next week. Like I say, you know my opinion on it. I think I'd still be saying I think we'll go down even if we beat Wolves, because I just think there's not enough winnable games for this team between now and the end of the season. But we, of course we still can. Like, I'm sure that there is fans throughout all of them teams in the bottom 8 that are saying exactly the same things as us about their team. So, of course we can still do this. And hopefully Rodrigo, Sinisterra, their catalyst can be the push on that we need to make something happen in that final third. Gracia gets a bit more time, especially after the Wolves game, to impart more into the team, and we can pick up the points. I think, what points are we on now? 23?
Yeah, 23.
I think we need 15 points. And I mean, that is winning 4 games and getting a few draws. I just don't see it. I don't see it. It's too much for this squad at this stage, with the pressures that they're going to be under. Some of the pressure that they're going to be under at Ellen Road in this next few weeks is going to be massive.
It is. So, it's I don't know.
What do you think?
Do you know, when I look at it, I think last week, do you know what? It's funny enough, and I know it's Chelsea, but there was something switched in my head last week after the Chelsea game. Because Chelsea were vulnerable, really vulnerable at that point, and had only won 1 game in 10 or something like that. And we could not take advantage. We're Dr. Leeds. We get everyone else sorted out. Come see Dr. Leeds. We'll sort your problems out and fit. Any bad run, come and see Dr. Leeds and we'll help you. And you know, it just, from that point last week, I just thought, I don't know. I think you called it when we messaged about being despondent, and I feel despondent with it. I just feel like, I think it's harder as well because of how romantic it was under Bielsa and the way we got promoted, and the fact that, you look at the scenes from that documentary and Bielsa and KP are hugging and everyone's celebrating, the city's on fire, everyone couldn't believe it. And it was supposed to be the start of, us being a great club, a great team again. And I'm not going to lie, I thought after we finished 9th in the Premier League, I thought Europe is round the corner. Europe is going to be round the corner for us. I couldn't see the wheels falling off in the way that they have. But there's just more and more evidence that this is just going south again. And I'm really worried. I'm despondent. I find it really deflating, and it's demoralizing. It's totally demoralizing at the minute, and I can't sugarcoat it. I cannot.
I agree. You'd be lying to yourself to say it's anything else. I think any fan that you see online is just trying to make himself feel better when they're saying, "Oh, it's this or that or that." Like, wake up.
What about the? I prefer the Championship. I don't like the Premier League. I can't wait to see us play Wigan in the Championship. It's not true. It's not true. We would all love the Premier League if we were doing well in the Premier League.
Yeah, of course.
The Championship was crap. We had the Championship for 13 out of 16 years. We've seen enough of that. This club has been in the doldrums long enough.
We're more and more seeing. Said it a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing. That it would be Elsa that did it all. That's just all I'm seeing. These guys, and we've said it before, been defenders of Rads and Norta.
100%.
I can see it now. My eyes are completely open to just how much Bielsa brought this club together, did for this club. And when we were on our knees, we should have been behind him. I wanted him gone at the time. Even though he's a hero of mine, I understood why he was sacked. Maybe not wanted. I'd have followed him to the depths of hell. To be honest. Even if we'd have gone down, I'd have still been like, the man's a hero. He's got my backing. I wasn't as vociferous, but I did understand it. Now, in hindsight, I wish we'd have just stuck with him. Because what he did behind the scenes and kept Orta and Rads and Kinnear on the that man ran the club. How is that possible? How is that possible? And we should have just backed him properly.
He's a genius. Bielsa is a genius, and it was like giving him the keys to the castle and saying, you run it the way you want. It worked for a long time. And I think the problem was how heavy the defeats were. If we'd have only lost to Liverpool 2 or 3-0, if we'd have only lost to Tottenham at that 1-0 that last game, or Man City by a couple of goals instead of 7-0. And that was the problem. It was so skewered by how badly we lost in those games.
It was his reluctance to change when we were so outgunned. To ask the likes of McKinstry, McCarran, and these to play in that way was negligible. Negligible? Is that the right word?
Yeah. I think you got that right.
Yeah. Anyway, it was that word. And that's what cost Bielsa his job, and that's what cost him some of the fans that were still backing him. You're right, the manner of the defeats. But anyway, we're picking through old ground, aren't we? I'm sorry, I brought Bielsa up.
It's a post-mortem every time, and I would love for us to come on a stream and be like, we won a game of football and everything is great, and we can get behind the lads and everything. But look, me and you, we're both going to be there every game. We're going to be supporting them. It's in your soul, isn't it? There's no escape, and it hurts when it's not going well. So, Andrew, to finish on a positive note, beat Wolves. We then need 4 wins.
Easy as that.
Andrew, I love it. I love it. Do you know what, mate, Andrew? If we beat Wolves, come back on and watch our follow-up on that game and just remind us.
We'll be happy.
Look, I told you, and I would love it, Andrew. I would absolutely love it. But my faith is just... my expectations on the floor at the minute. I'll be completely honest about it. Great show, lads. Andrew, thank you very much for your comments this afternoon. We really appreciate it. If you're watching the video later on, please give us a like and also subscribe to the channel for more Leeds United content and also other content across West Yorkshire football as well. Bit of a mixed weekend again for West Yorkshire as usual.
Don't talk to me about Park Ave.
We're gonna have to switch region, I think, next season. I think, or something. Park Avenue is something else. It could be worse. Sorry, Lewis, if you're watching, mate. Anyways, Jason, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for coming on for the therapy session. As always appreciate it. And I've been Stephen Browne. We'll be back again next week. Thank you very much for joining us.